I was offered a film, another film from Pravas Garu. We got a Hollywood remake. I said like it's not working for me, the Hollywood remake. I think like a original thought will be great on you rather than doing a Hollywood remake.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever sat through a Bollywood remake and thought something just isn't right here? Something is missing. Now, before you jump to conclusions, let's get one thing straight. Remakes themselves aren't the problem. Did you know that Munna Bhai MBBS was remade in Telugu, Tamil, Kannada and Sinhala, which is a primary language spoken in Sri Lanka?
No.
Films like Drishyam, Singham, Kethi, Arjun Reddy, etc., etc., etc. have all been remade across multiple languages. Long before that, Ghajini was inspired by Christopher Nolan's Memento, and to this day, Nolan jokingly claims he's still waiting for his paycheck.
So it's great, sitting there. I was talking to Christopher Nolan and he said, yeah, I heard that one of my films has been copied. I said, yeah, Ghajini. Actually, he was very upset about it. I told Amir also. I said, the film had just released over there and he had seen me. I said, the film is a big success. I told him about it. I said, yeah, so no credit, no money, no nothing.
And let's not forget Ben-Hur. The legendary film that won 11 Academy Awards was actually a remake, and to date, it's the only version that completely outshines both its predecessors and later remakes. And remakes aren't a new thing in Bollywood. For years, remakes or so-called inspirations have coexisted with other filmmaking genres. So the real issue isn't remakes, the real issue is what they have become today in Bollywood, a laughable trend. On one side, some actors are banking on remakes to keep their careers afloat.
I am mafia.
On the other hand, some are steering clear of them entirely.
अगर मैं अपनी फादर की कोई फिल्म उठाऊं या कोई मिस्टर बच्चन की फिल्म उठाऊं, मैं उनसे बेटर तो कर नहीं पाऊंगा, तो might as well try something new. So that's why I don't believe in remakes.
In this video, we'll take a deep dive into Bollywood's remake culture, what's really going wrong, why are most of them failing, and what can Bollywood do to make remakes better. So please watch the video till the end as we have a lot to uncover and share. Let's get started with the first major problem. Remaking without innovation. Some films are timeless. Remaking them isn't just risky, it's almost impossible to get right. A great classic isn't just about its story, it's about the era, performances and cultural impact it had when it was first released. Bollywood has tried to recreate legendary films, but history shows that most classic remakes have failed spectacularly. Remakes of Janjeer and Sholay were outright rejected because they tried to replicate something that was already perfect, and they were horrible remakes as well.
गजब बेइज्जती है.
On the other hand, remakes of Dawn and Agnipath worked because they added fresh perspectives. They retained the emotional core but made the film darker, grittier and more intense, adapting to a more modern audience.
मगर आप इकलौते मेकर होंगे जिन्होंने हिट को नहीं फ्लॉप को रीमेक किया एंड हिट बनाई उसके साथ.
या जैसे मैंने कहा, उनका बहुत दिल टूट गया था जब अग्निपथ नहीं चली थी, क्योंकि इतना अक्लेम मिला. और तो आई ऑलमोस्ट फेल्ट के आई शुड मेक द फिल्म अगेन एंड होप एंड प्रे दैट इट डज वेल, एंड इट डिड.
Bollywood's biggest issue today isn't just making remakes, it's making remakes without innovation. Instead of investing in new, fresh stories, the industry keeps falling back on recycled formulas, reboots, and scene-by-scene copies. And the worst part, most of these remakes don't even attempt to do something different. Take Vikram Vedha and the recently released Deva, both frame-to-frame remakes with zero creativity. Despite big stars like Hrithik Roshan, Saif Ali Khan, and Shahid Kapoor, they fail to excite audiences. Baby John, a remake of the Tamil film Theri, is yet another carbon copy, but with Bollywood's usual fix. Throw in a few flashy dance numbers and hope for the best. But that formula no longer works. Audiences see right through it. These aren't just isolated examples, they are a pattern. And the biggest problem, Bollywood keeps stripping away what made the originals special. Whether it's toning down the intensity, softening complex themes, or diluting cultural depth, Bollywood remakes often feel inferior to the originals.
When I saw Manjumal Boys, a script like this would never be made in Hindi. Next day, filmmaker called me. You know the filmmaker, can we get the remake right? So this is the mindset here. Let's just remake what's already worked.
The Hindi version of Vikram Vedha lacked the rawness and organic charm that Madhavan and Vijay Sethupathi brought to the Tamil original. Theri was tailor-made for Vijay's mass appeal, but Baby John starring Varun Dhawan feels like a forced attempt at action with no emotional weight, almost as if they picked the name John to capitalize on the John Wick association.
I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
At one point, copy-paste remakes worked. Bollywood could take a proven South hit, make a Hindi version and cash in. Wanted, Rowdy Rautor, Holiday, all successful. But that was a different time. A time before audience expectations evolved as a result of the pandemic effect. The COVID-19 pandemic is what one can subtly describe as the inflection point in our lives. It didn't just halt film productions, it completely transformed audience behavior. During lockdowns, people turned to streaming platforms where they discovered a treasure trove of world cinema.
아 잠깐 제시카 외동딸 일리노이 시카고 과선배는 김치모 그는 이사촌.
Earlier, Bollywood audiences only consumed Hindi films with the occasional Hollywood blockbuster in theaters.
Little fight meal. I like that. And you're gonna love me.
But post-pandemic, thanks to subtitles and dubbed versions, language barriers no longer exist. So when Bollywood started churning out remakes of South Indian hits like Vikram Vedha, Jersey, Shehzada, audiences weren't excited because they had already watched the originals, and often the original was superior in direction, storytelling and performance. Think about this. When was the last time a Bollywood remake genuinely excited you? For me, it was Kabir Singh.
नहीं आऊँगा मतलब नहीं आऊँगा ना बोला नहीं आऊँगा
And that came in 2019, before the pandemic started. We did a detailed video on Kabir Singh vs Vikram Vedha. Feel free to check it out after watching this video. So where were we? Yes, today's audiences crave originality. Movies with bold storytelling, strong character arcs, and unconventional plots. That's why experimental films like Sanam Teri Kasam and Tumbat found a cult following. The pandemic, OTT, and global cinema have raised the bar, and Bollywood has to evolve because frankly, their old-school approach to remakes feels outdated. Bringing us to the next major problem. Intense box office competition. Bollywood remakes today aren't just competing with each other, they are fighting for survival in an overcrowded, cutthroat marketplace. There was a time when remakes could easily dominate the box office, but today, every release is a battle for audience attention. And the competitors, Marvel, DC, Christopher Nolan, and global franchises now pull huge numbers in Indian markets. Direct Hindi dubbed releases of Pushpa, RRR, KGF, Kantara, and Salar have eliminated the needs for remakes. Streaming platforms. Why would anyone pay for a remake when the original is just a click away? A perfect counterexample would be Malayalam cinema. Despite being a relatively small industry, it is known for content-driven storytelling. Their films are remembered for their depth and innovation, regardless of box office numbers. In the past, Bollywood controlled the narrative. Today, audiences have more choices than ever. If a film isn't truly special, it gets buried under the competition. Selfie, which was a remake of Driving License, struggled as Bollywood's original films like Pathaan and Tu Jhooti Main Makkar perform better. Unless Bollywood shifts its focus to quality over quantity, remakes will continue to collapse under the weight of intense box office competition. Bringing us to the final point before I share my opinions on how Bollywood can actually fix this remake problem: the rise of social media. There was a time when a big star, a catchy song, and some over-the-top action were enough to pull audiences into theaters, even for a mediocre remake. But today, social media has changed the game completely. From the moment a remake is announced, audiences on Instagram and YouTube start tearing it apart. Gone are the days when studios could market a film however they wanted without any pushback. Now the second a remake trailer drops, comparison videos flood the internet. Scene-by-scene breakdowns, exposing how the original was superior. Side-by-side performance comparisons, proving Bollywood actors lack the depth of the original cast. Memes roasting Bollywood for ruining another classic. Earlier, audiences would only realize a movie was bad after watching it in theaters. Now, within hours of release, reactions spread like wildfire. A weak remake gets slammed by critics, audience word of mouth spreads instantly, the film crashes at the box office by day 2. This is exactly what happened with Shehzada, Selfie and Bhola, and the recently released Deva. The moment early reactions were negative, the films had no chance of recovery. Audiences are more aware than ever. They don't just consume movies, they analyze, compare and critique. In the past, Bollywood could convince people that a remake was something fresh, but now audiences fact-check everything in seconds. They know when a remake is just a cash grab. They have already watched the original on the OTT, they refuse to pay for a subpar copy. And once the flop label is attached to a remake, it's game over. This is the trap Deva fell into. Before its release, Shahid Kapoor defended it, claiming it wasn't a remake of Mumbai Police.
और रोशन एंड्रू की मुंबई पुलिस
नहीं, मुंबई पुलिस नहीं कर रहा मैं उनके साथ, बट मैं रोशन एंड्रूज के साथ एक फिल्म जरूर कर रहा हूँ.
But anyone who saw these both films can confirm otherwise. Social media doesn't just criticize, it roasts, making remakes impossible to hide. This finally brings us to the plausible solutions to the Bollywood remake problem. The most obvious solution: stop making remakes altogether. But that's too simplistic. After all, filmmakers are free to make whatever they want. So instead of banning remakes, the focus should be on doing them right. Firstly, avoid remaking thrillers with predictable endings. A thriller's biggest strength is its climax. If the ending remains unchanged, why would anyone bother watching the remake? Vikram Vedha and Deva both retained the same exact endings, removing the suspense element. A good remake example would be SRK's remake of Amitabh Bachchan's classic Dawn, which worked because it changed the original's ending, making it fresh and unpredictable. Now, Amir Khan is reportedly remaking Maharaja, a thriller that had a spine-chilling ending. So the biggest challenge will be to reinvent the conclusion. If not, the remake is bound to fail. Secondly, choose character-driven stories, not just plot-driven films. Stories that revolve around strong characters rather than just a plot that needs to be followed scene for scene have a better chance of working. A good example would be Singham. The concept of an honest cop fighting corruption is timeless. The plot can be adjusted, but the core character remains powerful. Thirdly, make it a true adaptation, not a scene-for-scene copy. A remake should localize the story, adapting it to Bollywood sensibilities rather than repeating the original word for word. Drishyam changed just enough details to make it feel fresh for a Hindi audience while keeping the essence of the story intact. Bhola lost the gritty, raw survival feel of the original by overloading it with unnecessary action sequences and world building. Next, don't remake films that are already easily available. With OTT platforms, audiences already have access to the original. If a film is popular and still fresh in people's mind, a remake has zero novelty. A better approach would be to remake older films. Nostalgic classics have a higher chance of success. Next up, consider releasing remakes on OTT platforms instead of theaters. Not every remake needs to have a theatrical release. Some stories are better suited for streaming platforms, where they can find the audience over time without the pressure of box office numbers. A recent example is Mrs., the Hindi remake of the Malayalam film The Great Indian Kitchen. Instead of a theatrical release, the film premiered on ZEE5, allowing it to reach a niche audience who appreciate its theme and storytelling. Over time, it has the potential to garner a cult status just like the original. And finally, cut down on excessive PR and hype. Over-the-top promotions kill credibility, especially in the age of social media. If a remake isn't exciting on its own, no amount of PR, interviews or trends can save it. Shahzada, Selfie, Baby John, all three had massive promotional campaigns, but audiences weren't convinced. Bollywood needs to let the film speak for itself, not overmarket mediocrity. Coming to final thoughts. Bollywood's remake formula is broken, but it doesn't have to be. The solution isn't to stop remakes altogether, it's to make them smarter. If done right, remakes can still work, but if Bollywood keeps churning out lazy, uninspired copies, audiences will continue rejecting them outright. The industry needs to respect its audience. People today are more aware, more critical, and have more choices than ever. A remake must add value, not just be a cash grab. What do you think about the solutions we suggested? Can Bollywood still fix its remake problem, or is it time to move on completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share this video with your fellow movie buffs, and don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned for more such videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.